In this video, Do-It-Yourself Irrigation is going to give you a basic overview on how to install a backflow preventer. Whether your code requires an atmospheric vacuum breaker, a pressure vacuum breaker, anti-siphon valves, a double check valve, or a reduced pressure principle or RPZ, this video will help you better understand how to install your device. Before installing a backflow preventer, check with your building standards office for backflow device and installation requirements. It's up to you to make sure that your backflow device is installed to code. The first thing to note is each backflow have two things in common: an inlet and an outlet. Although we'll be showing you the basic steps to installing a reduced pressure principle backflow preventer, your installation may vary, but the basic procedures will remain the same. For this installation, we have two 5-foot sections of copper. We'll also need two male adapters. This has a solder joint on one end and male pipe threads on the other. Next, we'll need two PVC bushings with threads on the inside and slip on the outside. This will allow us to transition from the copper to PVC. We'll also need two street L's, which is a 90-degree fitting with male threads on one side and a solder joint on the other. The street L is actually what we're going to be screwing into the backflow preventer. The last two fittings required are two 90-degree elbows that will be swed on both sides. Our installation requires that we have 5 foot of copper before and after the backflow preventer. It also requires for the backflow to be 1 foot above grade and the piping installed 1 foot underground. We've marked each piece of copper with 2 foot on one side and 3 foot on the other. The 2-foot section of pipe will allow for the elevation requirements. This 2 foot of pipe will allow the backflow to be installed 1 foot above grade and also the piping to be installed a foot underground. Using a pipe cutter or hacksaw, cut your two sections of pipe to length. Your next step is to take a circular brush or emery cloth and clean all your sections of pipe. Once you finish cleaning all the pipe, take a wire-type brush and clean the inside of the fittings. Now everything's cleaned and ready to start assembling. Our first step is to apply several layers of thread tape onto our street L. We'll then screw the street L into the backflow preventer. Keep in mind, if you are unable to find a street elbow, you can use a copper male adapter and an elbow and a small piece of copper to achieve the same thing. You'll then tighten the street elbow onto the backflow preventer. You'll then do the same to the outlet side of the backflow. You'll tighten both of these street elbows so they're facing downward towards the bottom of the backflow. Next, take one of your 2-foot sections of pipe and apply flux to both surfaces to be soldered. Install the pipe into the fitting, and we're ready to solder. When soldering, you'll want to apply the heat at the base of the joint. This allows us to where we apply the solder to be drawn down into the base. Apply the heat to the base of the joint and allow the heat to transfer up to the mouth of the fitting. Once the temperature gets hot enough, apply solder around the entire surface of that joint. Once you've applied enough solder to the joint, I like to take a clean rag and wipe off any excess solder. This makes for a nice, clean joint. We'll repeat these same steps to the other side of the backflow. Now we're ready to install the 90-degree elbows. Your installation will determine the direction that these elbows will face. Again, we'll flux, apply heat, apply solder, and then clean the solder joint. Now we're ready to solder the 3-foot section of pipe to the other side of that elbow. Again, we're going to flux, apply heat to the base, and apply the solder to the joint. And clean. Now on the other end of that 3-foot section of copper, we're going to install a male adapter. Again, we've fluxed, applied heat, and now apply solder. And repeat for the outlet side of the backflow. The last step to this process is to install thread tape to the copper male adapter and screw on the PVC bushing. Tightly secure the PVC bushing to the copper male adapter. The only other thing I recommend is sweating on 2 copper unions, about 6 to 8 inches below the backflow device. This will allow the backflow to be removed in the winter. With your backflow completed, you're ready to connect your water supply to the inlet side of this backflow, and you'll plumb the outlet side to your irrigation system. This will conclude Do-It-Yourself Irrigation's video on backflow prevention. Thank you for choosing Do-It-Yourself Irrigation. Remember, if you want the job done right, do it yourself. Irrigation.